Samuel de Champlain is a navigator, cartographer, soldier, and explorer. In 1603, he follows in Jacques Cartier's footsteps and sets out to map the St. Lawrence. He sails upriver, stopping on the island of Mount Royal, but can find no trace of the Iroquoian village described in Jacques Cartier's journals. He then proceeds to explore and establishes several colonies, including that of Quebec in 1608. In 1611, he again ascends the St. Lawrence River to the island of Mount Royal. Accompanied by some Aboriginals, he seeks a site to establish a trading post. Champlain oversees land clearing and stays for several weeks before returning to Quebec. In the chalet, 3 paintings recount these moments of history. In 1603, Champlain and his companions explore the site of Montreal. Since Champlain's visit to Montreal was little documented, the painter Marc Aurèle Fortin had to imagine the scene of Champlain exploring Montreal. The lack of interaction between the persons depicted suggests a leisurely moment shared in silence, taking advantage of an opportunity to admire the landscape. The colors are saturated and freely interpreted. The artist draws the bodies in a somewhat simplified and distorted manner, rendering the scene more symbolic than real. The effect of the ensemble confers a very personal style that departs from the conventions of mural and historical painting. Fortin's signature style can be recognized here, thanks to his colorful, dynamic treatment of the clouds and trees. Octave Bélanger illustrated the explorer's second voyage. Champlain revisits the site of Montreal in 1611. Bélanger was reputed as a landscape painter. Here, he represents Champlain on the riverbank as he dictates his observations to a secretary seated on a trunk. The scene is fairly static and the figures are portrayed in rather simple fashion. The sky is drawn freely in broad brushstrokes, whereas the soil and leaves are markedly textured. Bélanger, like Fortin, insisted not on the physical actions of the colonists, but on the intellectual process that gave rise to the colony's foundation and development. Paul-Émile Bordua replicated in color a map drawn by Champlain and published in 1613. In so doing, he schematized it, reducing it to its essential lines and forms. Oddly oriented, Île Sainte-Hélène is at the bottom, and the Lachine Rapids appear in the upper right corner. Several elements described by Champlain can be identified. The Grand Sault Saint-Louis, known as the Lachine Rapids. Place Royale. Mount Royal and Île Sainte-Hélène, which Champlain named in honor of his wife.